So this idea for personal branding really started when I started my first corporate internship last summer. I am a political science major, but I had an internship in finance, and I had to acclimate myself to a completely different environment, and certain things I had to learn along the way, and personal branding came up, and I never thought about my personal brand up until that point, and that's why we're here today, to discuss personal branding and how you can start, because you're never too young to start thinking about your personal brand.
Thank you. Okay, so today we have Daphne Valcin with us and Shari Dion. So Daphne is an executive coach. She's a keynote speaker and corporate trainer. She's been featured in Forbes, Voyage magazine. Daphne attained her undergraduate degree in public relations from the University of Florida. Her executive coaching clients have represented Fortune 500 companies, just to name a few: United Healthcare, JP Morgan, and Chase, and she has served over 400 clients across 4 countries. Daphne now resides in Atlanta, Georgia, where she enjoys spending time with her husband, Bobby, and her 2 little girls. And then, of course, we have Shari Dion. She is a dynamic and creative force who traded her dancing shoes for a keyboard and camera at the ripe age of 24. Shari is a full-time content creator known for her food and lifestyle videos on TikTok. Her videos have a delightful blend of humor, relatability, and a touch of whimsical. When she's not busy making content, you can find Shari reading a new book, spending time with her dog, and inspiring others to follow their own unexpected paths. So we just heard their impressive bios. However, what else would you guys like to share about your background and what makes you you?
For me, I think in the bio mentioned some of that I used to be dancing full time. I swore that was what I was going to do. I majored in dance at Kennesaw State University, and I was just like, oh, thank you. But I just knew I was going to join a company and start dancing. And then the pandemic hit, and things got really weird, especially if you were in college at that time, or even if you were in high school. If you were in school, it was very different and it was difficult. Everything stopped for me. It happened in my senior year of my dance program, and all my creativity I felt like was gone. Everything just ended, and I was like, you know what, let me just start making YouTube videos. Let me reroute. I needed to create something. So for me, it just started picking up more so this year, yes, but it started with that. It started with having a need to be creative and having to reroute. I couldn't be in the dance studio with other dancers, but I had to find something to make. So the dancing creation and the video creation is very different, but I needed that element of creativity, which is how I'm here right now.
Thank you. I first want to shout out Shari as well, and add on to her. How many followers do you have on TikTok? She has 1 million followers on TikTok. Yes. I think that's a really huge part of something that you need to know, because there's so many people talk about marketing and branding, but she has 1 million followers on TikTok and loads of followers on Instagram. So I just wanted to shout her out for that as well. You're very, very welcome. And then just for me to see who's in the room, can you raise your hand if you're an entrepreneur or thinking about entrepreneurship? Okay. And then hands down, raise your hand if you're thinking about advancing in your career at some point. Okay, hands down. So just a little bit about me. So thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I have a number of clients who have used social media to advance in their careers. So their digital brand has been responsible for them getting that 20% or 85% or even a 105% increase in salary, as partially as a result of their digital brand. So when we're talking about this, it's not just for entrepreneurship or if you want to be an influencer, but it's also if you want to grow your brand professionally for your career. And then on the entrepreneurial side, I have entrepreneurs who have grown and had 6-figure businesses or multiple 6-figure businesses as a result of being able to utilize at least one tool on social media really, really well. Shari has 1 million followers on TikTok, which is awesome, but I saw her on IG and she's fabulous there too. But TikTok is probably her main tool, right? Her main tool. So I want you all to think about how can social media be useful for you, specifically based on whatever you're trying to do with it. But I also wanted to just share, I've seen it be able to translate into results for career as well as for entrepreneurship.
All right, thank you for your responses. The first question is, in 2 sentences or less, what is your personal brand? Who would like to go first?
Why are we not ready?
What do people, like, quick, what is your brand? When you think of you, when other people should think of you, what should they take away?
I'll give this a try. I believe that people see me as someone who has a genuine love for seeing other people succeed, and at the same time does it from a place of energy and inspiration with a little bit of silliness and a heart for social change.
I think people see me as a source of comfort where you don't have to like have your guard up. You don't have to have like a specific persona. You don't have to have a huge personality or be anything other than yourself. This is not 2 sentences.
It's okay.
Okay. A lot of what I post is just like me during my daily life. It's not spruced up, but like most of life is not spruced up. So if you come to my page, you don't have to feel like, I have to be this extra person. I have to add something else on it. Like, be you, do you, and that's pretty much my brand. Yeah.
Period. All right, follow-up question. Walk us through how you cultivated your personal brand.
So actually, I have to give credit to my mom at first, because, who is also my manager. But when I started my TikTok journey, it was mostly food content. I didn't plan on doing that at all. But throughout my life, I've always been very vocal about food and how I feel about it, and I'm eating and I'm dancing and I'm doing the whole thing. And my mom was like, Shari, post that. I'm like, Mom, really nobody cares to see that. Like, it doesn't matter. I started posting that, and it was like a random day where I was like, I just went to a doctor's appointment about my back. I was irritated. I went to Panera. I was like, let me just film. People loved it. People resonated with it. They wanted to see more. So I kind of started picking up with that. Then slowly I branched into lifestyle, started filming days in my life. I'm slowly branching into beauty. So it started with something that I was already passionate about, something that I love and came naturally to me. And then I decided to let myself, like the ways in which I naturally changed in daily life, I wanted to show that too. So I feel like, especially if you're considering starting like a social media platform, always start with something that's really personal to you, because authenticity works. Like, it sounds corny, but what comes from the heart really does go straight to the heart. So if you're doing something real, it's always going to resonate with people.
That resonates with me.
When it comes to how I work through my brand, there's 3 I's that I created for you all, based on just what I did and what I've seen to work really well. It's the I is intention. That's one of the I's. The next is interpersonal. So how do you connect with people? And then the next I is individual. So what is so unique about you versus everyone else? And every one of you all have that, right? So intentional, interpersonal, and individual. So for me, what that looked like was, first, I wasn't posting on social media as well. I was not posting on there. And one of my friends told me, before I was an entrepreneur at all, she said, you do so many inspiring things, and people need to know. And I was like, why? Why do I need to know? And she said she thinks it would be very inspiring for people. And I love service. And so I was like, okay, I'll post some things. So it could have been 2 or 3 years before I even knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. I started to post about my thoughts and perspectives. And what I was doing back then was around in the world of education. So I was doing that. I was doing a lot of encouragement for people. If you're thinking about this, if you're feeling this way, I just want to tell you today, all of that stuff, just being myself. But because my friend told me that people could benefit from that. So when I made a choice to become an entrepreneur and go into coaching, it was almost a seamless transition. The challenge that I had was, how do I help people see me from not just being in the education realm? I was doing ed policy work, education management, program management. I taught at one point. How do I not have them see me strictly there, but see me now in this executive coaching and corporate training world? So, one, I had to be intentional around, what is it that I want to be seen as? Okay, I want to be seen as someone who helps others through coaching and who impacts them with practical results. So I had to figure out what that looked like with social media. The next thing was interpersonal. how do I interact with people to help them feel like I truly care about them? Back when I first started posting in 2014-ish, for being an entrepreneur, people used to post quote images, right? No, y'all probably don't remember that, but people just post quote images from other people and like facts and data, but that wasn't interpersonal enough. So I had to figure out, how do I write posts that connect with other people? And then the last thing, individual. So I had to figure out not only my business, but how do I post in a way where people understand who I am and what I like and what I love when I go to a restaurant, or my children or my family. So I had to figure out, how do I weave all of that together? So that is what my brand became. And I also want to share, I was afraid of videos. So one of my old bosses, Paul Brunson, I thank him, he said, "You're so animated," because usually I'm like, so he said, "You're so animated, you would be great on video." It took me 2 years to post on videos. So I started doing Facebook Lives, and they got thousands of views. The first ones especially got a whole bunch of views. And I use that as a very practical tool for my business to grow my client base. Every time I did a Facebook Live, at one point I got 2 or 3 clients, and I did it every week. So that was kind of a journey for me of how I grew. I started out not wanting to post anything, started posting, and eventually incorporated video.
Great. What I'm hearing from both of you is that you figured out what you wanted to convey and then how you can convey that through very different means, but I love that. Okay, so for the ladies in the room who are in the process of developing their personal brands, what advice would you give to them?
I want to go back to actually something I mentioned before. I always say, start with what comes the most authentic to you. I think especially on social media, it's a lot on social media. There's a lot going on. And I think people feel like to compete with that, they have to put on a persona. They're like, oh, this kind of content is doing well. Like, let me start doing that. But people can see it. Like, I'll even see comments on videos. They're like, this is weird. Or like, people can always see when something comes across force. Find out what's most authentic to you first. What can you turn on a camera and just start talking about forever? Because in the most insignificant you might think it is, somebody somewhere is like, oh my gosh, I do that too. I can feel myself vacuuming and somebody's excited because they vacuum every day. So like, even if something seems really mundane or it doesn't seem like it's important, if it's important to you, I guarantee you it's important to somebody else. So number one, figure out what is authentic to you. Figure out what you're the most passionate about and what you can talk about forever, and then start there. Everything else will flow because it's coming natural to you.
I think one of the things that would be helpful is thinking through, what is your intention for social media? So we all have different uses. Before I became an entrepreneur, how I posted was different than after I became a business owner. So, and just for more specific examples, I had a client who wanted to have more leadership roles in the community and get on boards and things like that. When I looked at her social media, I saw family, food, and like makeup, which is cool, but that's not who she wanted to be known as. So she wanted to be known as leader in education. So we say, keep those things that are important to you, but post regularly about education, your thoughts, where you are, at events, with other key stakeholders in education, leaders, all that kind of stuff. She ended up getting a whole bunch of roles in leadership within her local city because that was what she wanted. And then another client, she wanted to grow her hair business. She did braiding. She said, I need you to help me to make maybe $400 a month. I was like, how much you want to make per month? She said $400. I said, okay. I saw her social media. There were no pictures of hair, of people with hair braided. So I asked her to, one, I don't even know if she had all her social media together. So get all her social media handles up and then figure out how she could get pictures of people, because you got to get, permission, and then create a frequency she could commit to for posting these pictures of hair. This person ended up being a really great social media, digital creator, and she ended up making around $6,000 per month after she incorporated more pictures, and she basically wrote empowering messages with the pictures. So her intention was, I want to grow my braiding business. So you got to figure out what your intention is. Then find, build, post. Find which tool is going to work the best for you. Build your brand. Figure out what is your brand. What is it that you're going to be posting? And then the post is post frequently, depending on what it is you want to do. maybe you're posting once a quarter because maybe, your intention is something that doesn't need that many posts, but maybe you need to post every day, or maybe you need to post every week, depending on what it is that you want to do. So find, build, post after you figure out your intention.
No, that was good. I wanted to add something to that. What she was saying about like making sure you post frequently is so good. And I think one of the main things about posting is being consistent. So a lot of people think, oh, I need to post every day and it needs to be 3 times a day. Really, your audience just needs to know when you post. They need to have an expectation like she's going to post every day on Friday. So even if it's just, oh, I post every Friday, your audience is going to know Friday I can find a video from her. So you don't have to think like, oh, let me just throw out all this content all the time. Just find a consistent schedule that your audience will like catch a flow with, so they know when to expect you.
All right, thank you. I think sometimes we try to become the person we think others want us to be instead of being authentic to ourselves. So thank you for that. On to our next question. Tell us about a time, either in your personal or professional life, when your identity or your personal brand was challenged. How did you overcome that challenge?
That's a really good question, because I think, especially in what I do, a lot of how I make my money is brand partnerships. So, and I see a lot on social media, there's a lot of brand partnerships nowadays, and a lot of people kind of have to sort through what's real, what's fake, does this person actually like this product?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Because you kind of never know, and I think it's because sometimes people accept brand partnerships that have nothing to do with them, that they don't truly believe in. So for me, sometimes it comes in the form of like turning down money, and because some people be like, oh, you would do it too for a check. Like, I would not do anything for a check. Because I want whatever, I feel like when you have an audience that trusts you, you have to honor that. You can't just tell them anything. You can't just sell them anything. And I don't take it lightly if people are believing what I'm saying. So I feel like if a brand is coming to me and saying, hey, we need you to say this, this, and that, I'll immediately go to my mom and be like, Mom, it's weird. Like, I would never say something like this. I don't even think this product works. So I think even when it comes down to, if you're being offered a lot of money, you have to have the mindset of like, it's not everything. I think my audience and the rapport I have with them means a lot more. Even if I have to turn some stuff down, but that does happen a lot where I'm asked to do something, and if it does not resonate with me, I will just pass.
Man, that's a good example. So I was thinking about what to talk about. And one of the things that happens to many people, once you put yourself out there, and I think this is why I have clients that they freeze when I suggest, because that's Coach, we suggest that they maybe try to post on social media, and they're like, I don't want to do it. Even if they want to be a motivational speaker, they're like, no. Here is the challenge. It is when you get negative feedback. So I had a post that I did many years ago. Maybe it could have been 4 or 5, I don't remember. But I had sold a course and I closed, meaning I made sales, and maybe it was like over $7,000 in 3 days or something like that. So I posted about it, which we Haitian, we not supposed to post that anyway for people to see. So that's number 1. But 2, I posted and I got a lot of love, and let's say I had 50 comments that were all positive. I had one person. You already know. From could have been from elementary school, so elementary school, middle school, high school, who did like the little googly eyes gif, like basically looking like, I don't think so, like that didn't happen. So I'm like, oh my gosh, she thinks I'm lying, but I'm not lying. So I think I messaged her, like I DM'd her, I said, hey, I saw your message. If you want me to talk to you and tell you about, because I have grown in this, like everybody is not going to understand you, everybody not going to vibe with you. But before that, I was like, please, like if you want to chat about it, I'm willing to share with you about like what I did, the numbers, all that kind of stuff. Because I think one part was like, oh my gosh, she thinks that I'm out of integrity. And then it's also like, what if all these other people see the thing that she posted too, and they think I'm out of integrity because I'm not out of integrity. So whenever you post with social media, you have to know that there's going to be some people who are not going to like it. It could be family. I talked to, our moderators about this. I was sharing this story, but you have to think, my family may not be okay with me posting these things. Even if it's you having fun. Hey, it's me at the beach. Oh, at the beach at Benin, so you post that on social media? Or people don't have to know where you at. I don't know if y'all ever heard that. People don't have to know where you at. Why you post that? So that feeling, every time I post, I'm basically making, for years, every time I post, I'm basically making a commitment. Whatever I put out there, I'm going to put out there.
That's right.
Some people going to love it. Some people going to like it. I'm not for everybody, and it's okay. So I think that's the biggest challenge that I had to push past with social media. And I think people think it's easy because they see my posts and I'm like happy and all that stuff. But I have to be very intentional around that, and very intentional around if there's a comment that's not the greatest, it's okay to let it go.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think putting yourself out there in any situation is you're making yourself vulnerable to other people. And then when you're doing that on social media, you're publicly putting yourself out there. People hide behind a screen and they feel that they can comment anything. So that kind of segues into our next question. I know that Tajay and I were speaking about how, especially as Black women, as Haitian women, we're sometimes, as the youth, we're told to be seen and not heard. And as we're trying to be leaders and trying to transition into professional settings, being a woman, being a Haitian woman, being confident is seen as being arrogant, or being assertive is seen as being bossy. So are there any times, either professionally and personally, where you've experienced people trying to minimize you or make you feel less than, or make you feel like you're too much, and how have you overcome that?
Oh yes, I'll start. So if you go into business at any time, you may, I pray this, none of you all have this experience, but I have it at least once every year or two, sometimes twice in a year. Somebody basically says, for what you're, I'm not going to look at anybody because I don't want to wish this on anybody, but they say, for what you're doing, you're never going to be successful. It's not going to work. You don't have this. You're not doing the business in this way. Oh, you don't have a book? Or you this? All that kind of stuff. Woo! So at least once or twice a year. So that happens, and then I think in my career, what I experienced, and this could be an old conversation, but is I did a lot of work. I worked extra hours. I put excellence into what I did, but I had a number of times where bosses didn't give me the role that I probably should have had, or the pay that I probably should have had. And I think that some of them, the way that they spoke, it was like, yeah, you would never be doing this what I'm doing kind of thing, which is not good. So I've had those things. I think the thing that has been most helpful with that, there's two things I think. One is mentors. The mentors that say the opposite. They say, girl, you got it going on. You're going to be so successful. I met a man one time. He was like, oh, well, your coaching, it's going to double. So what you going to do when it doubles? And I was like, So that's helpful. So that's a reason for it. Every time you interact with someone and you see something in them, pour something into them. Because for the comment you're making, you don't know what they're hearing outside of that, right? And then I think the other thing that's helpful is I do a lot of stuff in the mornings to make sure that my mental health and my peace is in order. Woo! I have a 5 and a 7-year-old. I got a husband. I got a business. So devotional, there's something called Miracle Morning. So silence, affirmations, visualization, all that stuff. Prayer. Before I get out of bed, I try to make sure I pray. The books that I read, I try to read books that help me to think very positively as well. So all of those things can be helpful, because if not, the way life is, people can knock you down, 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 down. And some of the, without a doubt, some of the people that I interact with are geniuses, smart, very capable, but they've been knocked down so much. It's just very hard for them to see themselves the way I see them and the way that God sees them.
I think for me, it's comments, and it kind of, when you were definitely talking about the last thing you were talking about that comment you got, it doesn't happen often, but more so when I first started, I would get comments, because I have a really, vibrant personality, and I can't dull it down. people would say stuff like, you're not this excited about ranch. Like, this is stupid. Like, it could be something small, I'm excited about it, but people would like see it as a negative or think that I'm lying or think that I'm putting on. And I'm like, this is just who I am. Or it could be something as simple as like, why are you moving your hands so much? It's always a faceless account. The smallest things about me, like the tiniest things about who I am, not even like big stuff, people would just find issues. One, you gotta be swift with the block button sometimes. Sometimes they just have to be blocked. This is your space that you're creating. You don't have to accept anything. And two, I think you have to be surrounded by people who really know you and love you. Because there are a lot of voices on social media, and the faceless accounts can be the loudest ones sometimes. But especially being around my mom all the time, just growing up, she always told me, like, you know exactly who you are, you know whose you are, like, nobody can tell you anything. So I kind of grew up very settled in who I am, but just consistently having those people, my mom, my sister, family, friends, having people who really know you and really love you can kind of quiet the voices of the people who really don't and have a lot to say about who you are.
Yes. Okay. I am so inspired by Shari's mom. I'm so inspired. I'm literally taking notes like, okay, I need to make sure I tell my daughters who they are, whose they are. Okay. So, for real, I'm taking notes. But I just want to say, because we are in here in this room, we're sisters, we're mothers, we're aunties, we're daughters, right? And I think we should all think about that example. She said that she knows who she is, partially because of how her family was. Not everybody has that privilege of having that, but we can be that to others.
That's right.
So I just wanted to add that.
Good stuff.
Honestly, can we just give a round of applause to all the
That was
Haitian
amazing.
mothers that helped us, for you guys, but just to help us find out who we are, because I know that my mom is a big part of knowing who I am. So
I definitely agree. All right. So I think we can move on to community-related questions. So, first question. In the Haitian community, young women like ourselves are often encouraged to pursue one of the big four careers. Becoming a... Yeah.
let's have you guys guess the career path.
Doctor, lawyer, engineer, nurse.
All right. Good job. Yeah, definitely. All right. What advice do you want to give to those who want to pursue a different career path?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so that's a good question. So one of the things that I was passionate about, I used to have a nonprofit for 20 years where I did college professional development and scholarships, and a lot of the young ladies were Haitian. So one of the things, or Haitian American, one of the things that I help them to see, and this would be the advice that I have for you all, even as you're talking to your family. I think what I think was missing from before many of us went to college, for those who went to college, was, what do I want to do? And then how much money will it make? And what kind of life do I want to live? And what I mean by that is, not everybody want to have a house or, buy, God bless our parents and, love my mom, but not everybody wants to buy like all the people in the family houses as well, or cars. You might want a studio. You might want to stay at home with your parents. You may want one car, not two cars. Or you may want to build generational wealth and be a millionaire, whatever it is. So one, I think, is figuring out what it is that we want and doing that research, and then educating our family. I talked to a man a few days ago, a Haitian man, who I told him I was an entrepreneur, and I was like, and my mom's a nurse. He said, oh, she can take care of you then. But he didn't know what I did, how much money I made, all that kind of stuff, right? So I think part of it is educating our parents about how much different things make, because there's a lot of things we didn't know about when we were younger.
I have the,
like working
yeah, how
in
we
banking
but
or
look
working
here.
in
Okay.
corporate America, some in an office, or even retail management. Like there's a lot of different jobs that we don't know about. And there's different entrepreneurial ventures that many of us don't really know how much people make, but if we do that research, we can help to educate our families. Public relations, I used to say, oh, I major in public relations. Yeah, business. Oh, business, okay. So they didn't understand, right? So I had to educate, well, this is what public relations does and things like that. And then I think for us, it's also knowing what we want, like financially and all that kind of stuff, so that we can identify where it is we want to go. And even as entrepreneurs, influencers, seeing people who are doing what we're doing, who are where we want to be, and also being able to use those examples when it comes to helping to educate our family. Those are some initial ideas.
That was something really key that you said about educating them, because sometimes they just might not know. With my mom, something that was really big with her was having a plan, and she would always say, even if it's not a traditional thing, even if you're not going to college, just come to me with a plan. So I think having that plan and telling them, like, not just, oh, I don't know, or whatever, like, this is what I want to do. It's going to sound very different to you, but here is X, Y, and Z of how I want to do it. And I think number two, the biggest thing you have to realize is you're the only one that's going to live your life. Like, everybody has ideas of what they might want you to do, but when you go home and go to bed, it's just you and your life. So I think like keeping that in mind, because it's really easy to be swayed by family and people telling you things and tradition, but keep that at the forefront. Like, I'm the only one that has to do this. Like, when everybody's gone, I might still be doing this. 20 years later, if I'm doing this, is that gonna make me smile? Like, if not, maybe change paths. But yeah, I think definitely having a plan and remembering like it's me that has to live my life and then move forward that way.
That is so key.
It's our life. It sounds so simple, but it's true. It's our life.
So kind of following that, I know that both of you utilize social media to advance your careers and your platforms. But I think for people trying to go into that industry, can you talk to us a little bit about how you monetize that?
I think when it comes to content creating, that whole world is a little bit fuzzy, and a lot of content creators are not forthcoming with how they make money. So I'll be able to tell you right now. One of my main sources of income are brand partnerships. So some influencers join agencies and they come and bring them work, and they say, this brand wants to partner with you and pay you this amount of money to do this brand deal. For me, it's just me and my mom. So everybody's teams look different. It's me, her as my manager, and we just got a lawyer, Bobby. We love Bobby. So that's my team, and brands will reach out. My mom will negotiate everything. I post, and then, yeah, she negotiated everything. Yeah, and y'all shouldn't be playing with them either. But yeah, because they do try to take advantage sometimes, so that's a big thing to remember. But I think a huge misconception is with content creating, people think like, oh, you post a video, you get paid immediately. No, like the payment terms are very different. Sometimes it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days that you might have to wait to get paid. So it's good to kind of have them like stacking up all the time, so that way every month pretty much you're always getting paid. Another way, some people are monetized on Instagram Reels, some people are monetized on YouTube, which used to be the biggest thing. Like a while ago, it was people were posting on YouTube and that's how they got paid. That's still a thing as well. Also, Amazon storefronts. A lot of creators have Amazon, you've probably seen it push. They want you to go to their Amazon storefront and buy stuff so they can get commission. But I would say the biggest thing overall, I think, is brand partnerships for me and for a lot of other creators.
And then for me, on the business side, and for clients on the career side, SEO. So SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. So it's basically figuring out, if it's just, you have an online brand that's static, so you don't want to do videos. Let's say you want to have LinkedIn be a big tool for you. So I have a client, or a previous client, who had multiple six figures from LinkedIn, mainly from LinkedIn. LinkedIn posts, he did a lot of LinkedIn posts that had keywords that people would be looking for the kind of services that he offered. And then we also worked on making sure that his profile, so posts were written, profile had a whole bunch of keywords that are what people are looking for. My profile, people come into my profile, they're not like, I post like 3 times a week, and it's like a thought and a article on LinkedIn, occasionally do like a longer post. And I get clients that come into there, and they message me, and I message them back, and we have a conversation, and they become a client. And that happens, I would say, pretty regularly. But it's just because my profile, they've labeled my profile as an all-star profile on LinkedIn. So it has, and you can go and look at it, you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well, but on my profile, everything that can be added to a LinkedIn profile is on my profile. I can even optimize it more, but I took a while to just make sure I put a whole bunch of stuff in there that shows what I do and that I do it very well. So statistics, data, for you, one specific action step you could take. If you're on LinkedIn, some people disagree with this, but if you're on LinkedIn, one, you should have a LinkedIn if you're trying to advance in your career. If it doesn't have what you did in each position, just copy and paste what's on your resume onto your LinkedIn. People say that's not the best way to do it, but at least you'll have all those keywords so that if a recruiter comes to your LinkedIn, they can see exactly what you did and that you did it well. Because for some of you, they're going to your LinkedIn and they're like, well, I can't really tell if she did a lot or not, or if she's good at this or not. Copy and paste into your LinkedIn. So that's one way that clients make money, is from optimizing the profiles that they do have online. I have 1 or 2 speaking engagements per month. They come to me, Thumbtack, Gig Salad, all those things, because I've optimized my profiles on all those places. I need to be going out and searching for speaking engagements more, but they're just coming to me most of the time, which is great. So that's one way. The second way is, so it took me about 2 years doing Facebook Live before I found the recipe where every time I did a video, I was making money. And it's to your point, because people didn't share how to do it. I was trying to figure it out and testing. And so for me, the formula was give practical advice that people can use so they want to watch your stuff, and then share with them that you also help other people to do the same thing and that you do that well. So I talked about client results, and then I didn't sell every video. I didn't say, come and work with me. Every once in a while I would say, come and work with me. And that worked. People wanted practical knowledge. And it sounds like, yes, of course, but people want practical things that they can use. If you're a blogger, or if you have videos where you're a service provider like me, make sure that when you post a video and people watch it, they feel like it was an amazing use of their time. So for me, that translated. They message me, we have a chat, and then if it's a good fit, they become a client. So that's how, those are kind of the 2 main ways that I monetize.
Right, thank you for that, and also thank you for your transparency, because oftentimes we see people living large on social media, and we think to ourselves, why am I not living the same way? So,
Oh, how? Like,
Right.
How are y'all doing this?
which leads me to my next question specifically for Shari. Today, teens and young adults have significant access to social media. In many cases, people are comparing themselves to what and who they see online. What advice would you give to our young ladies on how to balance our consumption of social media while still maintaining a healthy view of ourselves?
It's actually interesting that you say this, because my mom is always asking me, like, how often are you taking breaks? How much are you responding to comments? Like, I know this is your job, but how much time are you taking off of it? I think it's really important, and this is weird saying this because social media is my job and I depend on y'all to be online to watch my stuff. But I really think that social media detoxes are so important. I did one years back, I probably need to do one again. But I realized how much, like, seeing so much all the time. Anytime you open up social media, somebody's telling you something, somebody's selling you something, somebody's doing something new, this, that, the third. A lot of it is a highlight reel. But you have to take a step back from it sometimes, because it can get a little bit crazy. And you realize, like, how much you miss in daily life being so consumed in it. And, like, what your daily interactions should feel like and how they can kind of be clouded by social media. I think also realizing, we hear a lot, like, yes, social media is a highlight reel. I just said that. And in a lot of ways it is. A lot of people are just showing you their best. But I also think remembering that, like, comparing in general, to just stop comparing. Because some people are doing well all the time, and that should be okay too. because I think we get kind of comfortable with like, oh, not everybody's life looks like this, and I can feel better about that, but some people's lives do look like that, but I could be okay with that too. Like if somebody is shining over here, I should be okay that they're shining, because them shining like does not mean that I don't shine. Like our lights can both shine at the same time. So I think like just getting out of that habit of comparing in general, and not having to rely on the thought that somebody else might be doing bad to feel good, and just knowing that we're all doing different kind of ways. Everybody's path is so different. Some people are doing great and they're posting things that are great. Some people are not doing great and they're posting things that are great. But either way, I'm doing okay. And then also the last thing I would say, if you can get in therapy, get in therapy. I wish it's something that was more accessible. I think going to a therapist is as important as going to a doctor. My therapist has changed my life. She changed my perspective on a lot of things. So if you can find a therapist, definitely go to one.
Thank you. Round of applause.
I love all of that. No one else's light shining dims your own light. In fact, I like to be around other people that are shining because that inspires me to shine. So I like that. Daphne, I have a question for you. So, according to Forbes, because you've been in Forbes, it takes 7 seconds for someone to form an impression of you. Can you give our attendees some of your top 3 tips for public speaking and executive presence?
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so top 3 tips for public speaking and executive presence. Wow, that's good. Okay. I have to start with a little backstory. So, I remember going into my boss's office one time, and he shared with me, this was around maybe 2008, 2007. He said, Daphne, around like the clients that you work with, at this time I was doing project management for a nonprofit that worked with youth. So I was working with teachers, for example. He said around them, you're confident, you're energized. But whenever you're around authority figures, your shoulders go down, your head goes down, and you don't have anything to say. Where do you think that came from? So yeah, when I was young, I was taught to be very respectful. And I was also taught to have a lot of fear for authority. So what I've noticed with a number of people who I've worked with is that they could be so amazing, confident in front of their friends, even during coaching sessions, but they're telling me that when they get in the meeting and they're at the financial services company, or they're about to do a speaking engagement, they're nervous. Some of that comes from however your upbringing was and what you were told about how you are supposed to be in front of people. So that's something that I had to work through. And then I continue to make sure that I'm working through. So I think the first thing, one tip when it comes to public speaking and executive presence is know 3 words that you want to exude when you walk into a room, or when you're doing a public speaking engagement. So if it is, I want to exude energy, professionalism, and confidence, then maybe you make sure your head is up. You make sure that your shoulders are back when you walk into the room. And if it's humility, then you want to make sure that you speak to people in a way that they know that they are cared about and that you value them as much as you value yourself. So think about that. What are your 3 words? I just want you to think about that, right? So that's one thing. Another thing that I would share when it comes to those tips are, if you're going to be speaking, or if you're going to be doing a video, at least and I don't know if you feel the same, I know the first few seconds of my video got to be on point. Because if it's not, they're going to scroll. And when I was first doing Facebook Live, I'm like almost 100% sure this is not the case. But the data was showing people like to watch a video that's about 30 minutes long. So my videos used to be like 25, 30 minutes long. Now I saw some data that said that it was like 60% of people say they're 2.5 times as likely to watch a short video. So my videos now, the last few videos I've done are about a minute. So my first few seconds got to be on point to bring people in. So if you're speaking, the first few seconds of whatever you say in a speaking engagement, people have already decided, I'm going to listen or I'm not going to listen. If you're doing a video, people are deciding, I'm going to keep looking at this or I'm going to scroll. I'm gonna keep scrolling. Like, okay, this is cool. I'm gonna keep scrolling. So I would say, figure out how your first few seconds will be able to reel people in, would be my second tip. And then my third tip, if you're doing like a long speech, I like to spend no more than 2 minutes speaking before I bring the audience in. So raise of hands, chant, stand up, write this down, tell the person next to you. So it's an interactive experience. I once did a speaking engagement where people were like crying, not in a bad way. I don't want anybody to cry all the time, but they were crying. They were just so impacted. It was a sorority reunion, and I'm in a sorority. So I was the keynote speaker for this reunion. I'm a Delta. So I'm at a Delta Sigma Theta reunion, and everybody thought it was so impactful. But one of the most major parts of that speech was I had people in groups, and they were sharing some things based on a prompt. So what is the most meaningful time that I've had in my sorority life? How did that impact me? Share at your table. And so giving people the opportunity to share with each other actually made the speaking engagement more powerful. So no more than 2 minutes of talking before something happens, or people are moving or saying something or doing something. Also because that's how learning happens. Learning happens when we interact with content, as opposed to we're just taking in the content. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm thinking about my 3 words right now. Get ready.
Can I just say, this discussion has been so inspiring and uplifting. Does anyone feel the same?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, definitely. So the final question to end off this wonderful discussion, if there is one thing you would like everyone to take away from this conversation, what would it be? 5 seconds.
I think that for me, it's knowing how you want to show up in the world for yourself and for other people. That would be the biggest takeaway for me, for you all to think about. What does that look like online? What does that look like when you're interacting with people? What does that look like when you're networking? How do you want to show up for yourself? Being intentional about that. What are your 3 words, right? And then how do you want to be to your family, to your friends, to strangers online and offline?
Mine kind of falls in line with that as well. And I said it earlier, I would say just being authentic. I think that's the most important thing, especially on social media right now. There's so much content. There's so much to sift through. There's a lot of stuff is fake, and sometimes it's kind of hard to decipher what's real and what's fake. So I think, especially if you want to start a platform and just in life in general, it's really important to just be authentic, because somebody is searching for that authenticity in you that they can relate to.
Thank you all so much. Can we please have a round of applause for our panelists?